Here's what people don't understand. People think that the more women you bang, the more of a man you are.
Yeah.
Right? You need to understand that as a man, our only purpose, if you were to take everything else, our only purpose is the survival of our species, which means we need to transfer our DNA.
Yeah.
If you're not having kids, you're not doing anything really in life.
Yeah.
Right? That scientifically speaking, that is our only purpose in life. Right? To regenerate. And you only want to do that, obviously, in a nucleus family. Right? Especially for, again, our skin type.
Of course.
We are the worst of this. But we'll put our babies left and right and leave those babies to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? What makes you a man? Being able to support a wife.
Yeah.
Being able to produce children, support children, and raise those children to be great men and women too.
100%.
And not only that, if you're able to create, let's say, generational wealth where you can protect those kids and then your future kids to break that chain.
Yeah.
That's a man right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a lie. That's because I never had it even, just the idea of money. I was never around that type of wealth, right? Especially for somebody that was a Latino or somebody in my family. Nobody in my family, like no second, third cousin had money like that or had a business. I think I've said this before. I remember as I was I had nobody to look up to. That's what I was telling you. I had nobody to talk to, nobody to tell me, do this, don't do that. It was to the point that, you know, bless my mom. My mom loves me more. You know, that woman loves me more than anybody else. But I remember I was in college at the time, and I told her, and obviously I was failing. I had no money. And I told her, man, if I can make $70K a year with my business, which is top line revenue, which is really not that much, right? I'll quit college. And I've talked about this before. And she said, well, I'll pray to God that you never make $70K. That was the type of people around, like, you know, that was the type of mentality around me, right? There was nobody that believed in the idea of you could be self-sufficient, right? So no, I would have thought you're lying. Like there's just no way I'll get to this stage. And one cool thing that I always like to do is I like to write. I have a lot of journals and I like to write. And I've written since I was 17. Every day that I felt like crap, that I just felt like giving up, I would write and just like, man, I feel tired, man. Like I just keep hitting walls. Like, man, it gets to a point as an entrepreneur that it feels like everything that you do doesn't work. And you just feel helpless, right? And I've always said this before. I don't know if I've said it in your podcast, but obviously I believe in God. And there was one night where I really just felt like quitting at the time. I was probably 18, 19. I was like, man, like, what's the point, right? Like, I'm 19, I'm in college. I could be doing college things. I could be going out with my friends, right? Why am I stressing myself out like this? Why are my credit cards maxed out right now, right? Like, it just made no sense. I was just tired. And when people would ask me like, yo, how's your business going? Or how's this? I would put a fake smile and say, oh, everything's going great. I'm a 19-year-old kid that's in debt and feel like a failure. Like, that's the worst feeling in the world for a guy to have. And then add on top of that, nobody to mentor you or tell you, yo, keep pushing. Right. And I remember at the time, I just remember praying at that time, and it just felt it in me like, yo, keep going. Right. Just keep going. And I remember writing that entry down, that feeling of keep going. I kid you not, 3 months later, I start making my first sponsorship and I start making a little bit of money and I start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, I mean, even at that point, would you tell me, would I be here now? I still wouldn't believe it.
At what age, how far back can you go from where you're at now, where you would have believed where you're at now? So when did the light click and you're like, oh, I'm about to be that guy?
I would say, let's see, I'm 27 now. I think around 24, no, probably earlier, 23. I shifted gears where I was like, I can do a lot more.
What do you mean by you shifted gears, and how did that happen?
It was, man, that's a great question. And so two things. One, like I said, the more exposed I was to the growth and scaling of a business, right? And just seeing, I don't want to say that it was easy to generate the money, but just seeing how much money you're able to generate. I was like, you know, and my head is like, sky's the limit now, right? If I can do this, I can do more. I've set my goals before, right? My numerical goal is very, very ambitious and borderline impossible. Statistically, actually, it's impossible. Like, statistically, odds are against me for me to get to this goal. But around 23, I was like, I want more, and I think I can do more. If I can do this, I can do more. And at that point, and if you would have asked me, Jose, you'll be in New York with this office, and your business will be at this size, and this will be your next ambition, your next goal to tackle, I would have believed you. And Aaron, you asked, what was my motivator? I think a huge part of that definitely was my wife. Just as soon as you start having a family, like obviously I had my brothers and my parents as a family, but when you have your own family, your own bloodline, and you start building that out, it's like you want to build impenetrable wealth. So I don't want my kid to ever have to go through anything, or my wife. Yeah. Right. At anything, even closely remotely to not being able to pay bills and having to go through that stress. Right. So as soon as I started building a family, my mind shifted into, I want something generational. I want something massive. Honestly, I would say that was probably the biggest catalyst to changing my mentality. 1 million no longer is enough. 10 million no longer is enough.